Hi everyone, it's Liam here from Rating the Races. So we had the handicap marks come out yesterday. I didn't get time to record this video, so we're doing it today. It doesn't really matter that it's only a day late. Looking back at some of those horses that I think all of these actually ran at Aintree that have caught my eye with their new handicap marks. They did indeed. And where I think they should go next. The first horse that I want to talk about is Be Aware, who disappointed again at Aintree over 2.5 mile. He's now finished 8th over 2.5 mile at Aintree, 8th over 2.5 mile at Cheltenham. Both times he's gone a favourite. I think he wants to be dropped back in trip. I really do. I think they should go back to 2 miles with him. I mean, his form over 2 mile, he only ran the one bad race over 2 mile. You could argue it was the only, a bad race, and he finished 3rd at Ascot, beaten 17 lengths. Now, you're allowed to have a bad run every now and then over the trip. If you look at his other runs, he won, he was second by a neck, second by a length, second by half a length, second by half a length. I mean, that's not screaming that you're running over the wrong trip. I think they felt they might just have a bit more in hand going up in trip at Cheltenham, where he ran okay, he was only beaten 8 lengths. And then again at Aintree, they probably stuck to that rather than dropping into the slightly easier 2 mile handicap, where the prize money wasn't as good. So I understand why they stuck at 2.5, but now they've got to go back to 2 mile with him. I'm convinced they've got to go back to 2 mile. Now, they could have a season-long plan with him next year. That could be the Grand Annual at the Cheltenham Festival. I think he would, if he turned up around this sort of mark in the Grand Annual, I think he'd have a massive chance. Because I imagine they will go chasing with him next year. However, with Dan Skelton now being challenged for the trainer's title by Willie Mullins, it's probably, we might see more of the Dan Skelton horses that he was looking after and waiting for next season running now in the next couple of weeks. I wonder whether we might see Be Aware dropped in trip and sent for this race, the Sussex Champion Hurdle. 75 grand total prize money. That could be enough to win him the title. Obviously, you don't win 75 for winning it, but that could, a big difference in what is up for grabs over the next couple of weeks. That could be one of the important races. They could also stick at 2.5 and go for this race here, but it's only worth a total prize of under 35. I imagine Willie Mullins is going to send more runners to Sandown than he is to Plumpton. I don't think the quality of the race at Plumpton is going to be that good. Yeah, I think if this race doesn't come too soon, it's on the 20th of April, so 16 days after his run at Aintree. If it doesn't come too soon, I have a feeling we might see Be Aware dropped in trip, back for that Sussex Champion Hurdle, and I think he would take all the beating. He would go off favourite again for that. He wouldn't take on as many Irish horses, he wouldn't take on as many unexposed types in the Sussex Champion Hurdle. It's going to be the almost like the second tier trainers that generally target that, rather than the top ones with their horses that they're at this point they might be saving them already for a feature handicap next year, like the Greatwood or something. But Be Aware could go back for that, but there's no. He wants to win the trainers title, I'm sure, and I'm sure he'd be more interested in winning the trainers title than waiting with Be Aware and dropping him back for that Greatwood Hurdle. I think they're going to go chasing with him next year anyway. And with that in mind, there's no reason to not try and win a race over hurdles in the meantime. So Be Aware is definitely one I want to see one more time this season, and hopefully in the Sussex Champion Hurdle. Next horse I want to talk about is Affadil, who was last seen going off 11-2 at Aintree, finishing 12th, beaten a long way. And I feel the ground and the way it was riding, and the fact that I'm convinced this horse wants to step up in trip now, meant he disappointed. I've been saying for a few runs now that he needs to go up in trip. He's dropping nicely in the handicap. He's down to 1-2-3, as high as 130 last season, as high as 130 at the beginning of the season. Yes, he ran a couple of nice races at Musselburgh in the Scottish County Hurdle and then at Sandown in the Imperial Cup, but I feel he got outpaced in both of those again. Welsh Charger just ran him down late on because he had more pace, and I feel the same at Sandown. He was there in the right place. Affadil didn't have enough pace. Reckless Eric was quicker than him. Godante was quicker than him at the finish. But they stuck to this 2 mile trip. Obviously, he'd finished third in it last year, and I kind of feel that wasn't the right race for him this year. With his good third to his name, I'm hoping they go to Sandown at the end of the season. There's this handicap here, 2 miles 3, 173 yards, for horses rated 0 to 145. So he gets in comfortably. He'd be right near the bottom of the handicap if he does get in. And I think this would demonstrate to Paul that actually he does want this far now and be able to kick on next season. I mean, he started running over 2.5 middle of last season, 2023, 2024, early 2024. They stepped him up to 2.5, and at that point, maybe he wasn't quite right. He was only a 5-year-old, 2.5 at that time of his career, probably wasn't right. Now he's 6, he's going to be turning 7 next year, obviously. I feel that they do want to go up in trip with Affordil, and he's one I'm definitely interested in if they do step him up for this race at Sandown. As I said, he's been to Sandown before. He ran a good race in the Imperial Cup, went third, and I feel the trip would suit him even more. The next horse I want to talk about is another one of Dan Skelton's who could be back out this season to try and get some prize money, and that is Lemilos, who dropped another pound to 141 after finishing third at Aintree when never really getting close enough. I'm convinced this horse is a stayer, not a 2.5 mile horse, and I don't feel it was the trip that beat him at Aintree, and I don't feel it was the trip that meant he disappointed. I think he just needs further, and he actually ran last year in the Bet365 Gold Cup. Let's see if I can find it. It's this one here. You can see he finished 7th. He picked up, I think it was like £1,100 last year in prize money. After finishing 7th, beaten 11 lengths off a mark of 149. Now this year if he ran, he would only run off 141, so he's £8 lower. But look at the race makeup. It was a good race as well. Manila Kakuna has since come out and finished third in a seventh in a Grand National. Ran really well for a long way. Nick Rocket, who was third, went on to win the Grand National. It's good form. Sam Brown continues to belie his age by running in good races. Kitty's Light finished back in 9th that day. The real stayer, good handicapper, and that horse had previously finished 5th in a Grand National. It was a really good race last year. And I don't think Lemilos ran badly at all. You can see he traded at 4.3, so just over 3 to 1 in the run. Only went off 13 to 2 when he was rated 149. If he came back off £8 lower mark, you'd have to put him, he was 7th. It'd be right up here. 3rd, 4th maybe. Potentially even better than that depending on who turned up. It would be good prize money for Dan Skelton. I think he would run a nice race. And I wouldn't be against him, to be honest, at the moment in this Bet365. I really like Lemilos. I feel the trip would really suit him as well. So yeah, that is Lemilos for the Bet365 Gold Cup. I do like that. That's on the 26th of April. Next horse I want to talk about is Petit Tonnerre, who disappointed for some when being beaten by Salisbury, who we were on at Aintree. He finished 9th of 14, beaten 21 lengths in a race where Aintree, you really had to be fast. If you weren't fast and you were like a slog or a stayer, you weren't good enough to get involved in many of the races. And Petit Tonnerre just isn't quick enough for 2 mile. Yes, he won a race at Doncaster when it all fell apart in front of him. Yes, he's finished second before, but behind Imperial Saint at Aintree. But if you watch that race even at the beginning of the season, he was miles out the back, stayed on really strongly. He wants 2.5 mile. They've got to step him up to 2.5 mile now. There's a couple of races that they could go for. I hope they step him up to 2.5 mile now. Go and try and win this Josh Gifford's Novices Handicap Chase. Obviously, he was a novice, so he still qualifies for this race. Go and try and win that. You'll go up to, what's he rated now? He dropped £1 to 129. Now, that won't get you in something like the Paddy Power Gold Cup at the beginning of next season at Cheltenham. However, if you win that race at the weekend, in a couple of weekends' time, at Sandown, you probably will get in the Paddy Power and the December Gold Cup at Cheltenham. And that's the type of races that I think would really suit him next year. He needs to be up in trip, needs to be over 2.5 mile. And they might as well get his handicap mark going up to the right mark now by winning, not that race, this race here, the Josh Gifford's Novices Handicap Chase at Sandown in a couple of weeks. We've still got plenty of time. What's that, 16, 17, it would have been 23 days from when he ran at Aintree. That should be long enough to get over that run at Aintree. And finally, this one, some people are going to turn straight off now, so you can, if you don't agree with this one, you can click straight off and shut down the video. Brave Man's Game. Dropped £3 to 152 for his run in the Grand National. He just didn't stay, did he? Go back and watch it. He actually turned into the straight. Coming to the second last, he's coming around the outside, he's still going okay. He jumped the second last and completely emptied. He did not stay that 4 mile 2 trip, which wasn't a total surprise, to be honest. His best runs, like in a Gold Cup or in a King George, they've been over 3 mile 2 sort of trip. The 4 mile 2 was just like almost like a let's try it. It didn't work, he didn't stay that far. But that's 4 mile 2. Drop him back to 3 mile 2, find a handicap, I think it'd go really well. Especially off this new 152 mark. He dropped another £3 for that. If you went back to the 3 mile 2 point, he's bang there off his mark of 155. He'll be bang there off 152. This is the race I'd love to see them running. Coral Gold Cup next year at Newbury. 3 mile, 2 furlongs at Newbury. He's got a couple of wins to his name at Newbury. Yes, he got beat in the Denman Chase earlier on in the season. It was a graded race, it wasn't a handicap. And he wasn't there to win that day, was he? He was there to... They'd already got the Grand National in mind with him at that point. They were just getting him another fitness run with the Grand National in mind. Otherwise, he's been there twice before to Newbury. He's actually been there 3 times, look at that. Just double checking I haven't missed any. That was the only defeat there. He beat Pets Fancy in a Novices Handicap Chase. He beat Stargate and the Glancing Queen in a Grade 1 Challow. And he won a Novices Hurdle, beating S Perfecto and Bothwell Bridge. Now, okay, they're not... None of them would be good enough in a Coral Gold Cup, but at least he wins at the track. That's definitely where I want to see him next year. He could be very interesting if he turns up next year in that Coral Gold Cup off his new mark. Just didn't stay the 4 mile 2 trip. I don't really want to see them waste or run him at Sandown. He looked very, very tired at the end. He went from going okay to finding absolutely nothing. Stopped very, very quickly. He's going to take a little while to get over that run. So I don't want to see them run him at Sandown in the Bet365 Gold Cup at the end of the season, but I do want to see them wait for the Coral Gold Cup next season at Newbury. So there's a few thoughts from about some horses that ran at Aintree. Be Aware needs to go down in trip. Affodil needs to go up in trip. Lemilos needs to go probably back up in trip to that Bet365. Petit Tonnerre needs to go up in trip, and Brave Man's Game needs to come down in trip. There seems to be a bit of a pattern there with horses that maybe ran over the wrong trip but have been nicely dropped by the handicapper.